Hi, this is Captain Joe, and I'd like to introduce you to Google Earth Pro Flight Simulator as a free way to do some flying during your days off. My desktop setup is a standard monitor, keyboard, mouse, but I have in addition an inexpensive USB connected joystick along with a set of instructions that shows you keyboard commands that can be used during the simulator flight. In addition, you can download these easily from the internet. The video quality you're going to see is much lower than what you'll have in real life because of the recording capability that I had. Thanks for bearing with me. Bye. I've got Google Earth Pro showing on my screen here. I'm going to use my little hand icon to point out a few things on the screen before we get flying. It's going to be pretty important stuff, so let's look in the top left. This little icon here, if it doesn't load up if it loads up like you see, we're going to want to click on this to show this sidebar. Notice the sidebar has three categories in it. There's a search engine, which we can type in any place we want to find in the world to search for. Looking down there at the bottom left are places. I'm going to click on that to open up places. This is where you store places you want to go. And at the very bottom are layers. Okay, layers are different things that you lay on top of the picture that you see on Google Earth. Back to the top, I want to take you somewhere fun. Since you guys are all pilots, most pilots would love to go fly in the backcountry of Idaho. So let's go to the premier airport in the backcountry, and that is Johnson Creek. Yes, they do say Creek in Idaho, so we're going to go to Johnson Creek. And a quick and easy way is to type in the identifier, which is 3 Uniform 2. I'm going to enter that, and let's see if it knows where that is. And sure enough, here we go to Johnson Creek, 3 Uniform 2. Okay, zooming down in. The Frank Church River of No Return area, and there is the runway down in the middle of the mountains. I'm going to use the wheel on my mouse to zoom in even closer. And we can see it looks like an RV on the runway. There's a few Cessna high wing types parked on the west side of the runway. There's an RV-8 on the east side. These buildings here are where you get a hot shower or hot coffee in the morning. Most of the campsites are along this east side, and you've got beautiful Johnson Creek running right behind you for a very idyllic setting. The road on the right will take you up to Yellow Pine, Idaho, hot spot. So let me zoom in a little closer. If you look at the runway, all these dots are actually sprinkler heads. They irrigate different sections of the runway at different times, so if they're irrigating the eastern section, you're going to land on the west and vice versa. So I'm going to take my mouse and use these controls in the upper right hand to tilt to give us a different perspective on what we're looking at. And if I zoom out here, it looks like Johnson Creek's in the middle of East Texas. It's kind of flat, but I know it's not. It's in the middle of the mountains. So here's a very, very important step if you want to have realistic flying view. Follow my hand over here to the left under Layers. Primary Database, click on that. At the very bottom it says Terrain. We need to check that terrain box. And when I do, boom, up pops Johnson Creek like it's supposed to look like. Okay, now we've got some mountains around us. Very, very important you click the Terrain button. If you want to fly around some large cities like San Francisco, Paris, Houston, you're going to probably want to click on 3D buildings as well, because the buildings will look a whole lot better in that case. We're in the backcountry, we don't need to do that. Alright, so we're going to go flying. Well, before we do, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Johnson Creek Airport. This is runway 35 going downstream of Johnson Creek. We always talk on the interplane frequency of 122.9, and we designate the direction we're going over different drainages, upstream or downstream, rather than north, south, east, or west, because rivers can turn and twist. It tells the other airplanes, more importantly, where we are, and in addition, it's good for our situational awareness that we know if we're going upstream, we better be climbing. Downstream, we can be level or descending. Also, we're going to stay on one side of the valley or the other. Typically the right side, depends on the winds. You might want to be on the uplifting side of the valley. In that case, you're going to have to watch out for other traffic. People are going two ways in the valleys. So if we stay on one side, we're going to be clear of the traffic. Plus, we've always got a way to turn around if we need to. Okay, let's go down and take off on runway 35. That's the preferred departure runway. Preferred landing is 17. I got this information from a publication that you're probably going to want to download. It's called the Recommended Standard Operating Procedures, put out by the Idaho Division of Aeronautics. They have a lot of airports listed in there in the backcountry. Another one that we're going to be flying to this morning is Big Creek. They've got some information for you on that. So we're going to be going downstream Johnson Creek over the town of Yellow Pine. We're going to be turning right, which will be upstream the East Fork of the South Fork of the Salmon River. Then we'll be turning upstream Profile Creek over these mountains here and down the other side into the Big Creek drainage and landing at Big Creek, which is really a cool place to go. So for now, let's go take off. Over here on the left under places, I'm going to click on that expand. I've got a lot of places listed, but I'm going to start off. My starting location is always going to be the run-up area for runway 35. Okay, now that we're on the run-up area runway 35, follow my hand. I'm going to go to the top left to Tools, click on Tools, and click on Enter Flight Simulator. Notice I can be an F-16 or an SR-22. I'm going to click SR-22 for today because we want to fly low and slow down in these valleys where an F-16 can't even make the corners. I'm going to start off with the current view that I'm in now. I do have my joystick on, but I'm going to show you how you can fly with just a mouse as well. And I'm going to start the flight. Notice when I clicked Start Flight, my sidebar disappeared. And for some reason we started rolling. So I'm going to have to... There we go. The sidebar disappeared and the HUD appeared. Okay, let's look at the HUD symbology real quick. Airspeed on the left in knots, heading on the top in degrees, altitude on the right in feet, climb rate either a plus or minus in feet per minute, standard attitude indicator for pitch and roll. On the far left side is my throttle position. That's closed. That's full throttle. On the right would be elevator up and down, aileron left to right, rudder left to right, and I'm going to hit the F key, Foxtrot key, and that gave me flaps 20 degrees. I'm going to hit it one more time. I've got 40 degrees. Notice this is a 40%. This is not degrees, this is percent of flaps, so I want 40%. If you're flying the F-16, use the G key to cycle the gear up or down. Enough talk, let's go fly now. We're going to take off on runway 35. Take that back. Two more important keys. While we're taking off, we need to steer with the brakes. The comma key on the left will be your left brake. The period key on the right will be your right brake. Tap those just like you would tap the brake pedals to steer a full castering nose-wheel airplane. Also, the icon in the middle is an arrow right now. I'm going to left click on my mouse. I've got a plus. Plus means now the mouse is capable of flying the airplane. The mouse will now act just like a stick. In the center or neutral position, nothing's happening. If I deflect the stick to the left, I'm going to roll left until I come back to center. Then I'll stop my roll. Roll right, back to center. Push it away from me like pushing a stick forward is going to push the nose down. Pulling the mouse towards me is like moving the stick towards me, which will make the nose go up. Back to neutral is straight and level. Okay, now we can go fly. Let's add some power. I'm going to tap on the left brake to get us straight down the runway. And now I've got full power. And I use the page up and page down keys to add power. And I'm tapping the right brake to keep me going straight. And what I'm looking for is about 80 knots before I can rotate. So there's 80 knots. I'm going to pull the mouse towards me. And sure enough, we've broken ground. And back to neutral with the mouse. Okay, now that I'm flying above 90 knots, I'm going to go Shift F to bring flaps up, Shift F, and the flaps are all the way up. Notice I get a little sync rate with it. It's very realistic. Okay, so as I go downstream Johnson Creek here, I'm going to go to the other side of the valley, and I'm going to make a turn. And I'm going to follow this valley up and climb to about 8,000 feet. Let's roll ourselves back to the right and bring in the cursor back here and continue climbing up to about 8,000 feet to make the pass over the mountains. I'm going to have to roll left. Don't want to hit that mountain. Push the nose down a little bit. I got a little slow on airspeed. And let's make a turn here. Okay, let me go back to straight level first, and I'm going to hit the space key and freeze everything. Okay, because I want to show you something that's kind of fun here. Okay, with myself frozen, or moving for that matter, I can look all around the airplane. I don't have to look straight ahead. So, using either the control key or the alternate key and the arrows, I can look around the airplane. The control key will be a fast slew, so I'm going to go control left arrow, boom, and I'm looking out the left window now. If I do control left arrow, I'm looking way out the left window. One more time, two more times, there's the valley we just flew up. Johnson Creek is right around the corner there. Okay, I'm going to come back right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and look at, I've got the HUD back in view, so I know that I'm looking straight ahead. If I use the alternate key, I'm going to go right. 1, 2, I'm just slewing slowly now. If I hold it down, it will continue to slew. Okay, I'm going to slew back to the left till I get the HUD in view. Okay, now I know I'm looking straight forward. Similarly, I can use the alternate key with the down arrow and look down. And there's beautiful Yellow Pine, Idaho, where you can go eat dinner. Okay, let's go alternate, slew up until I get the HUD, and recenter my mouse. I'm ready to hit the space bar and go flying again. There we go. Okay, let's turn and go over Yellow Pine. And pull the nose up. Okay, Yellow Pine, now we are now going upstream on the east fork of the south fork of the Salmon River. Key thing here, we need to keep turning. I don't want to go up that first valley. I'm looking at ForeFlight on my iPad just to the left of me now. And, woo, that was close. Almost lost control of it. Okay, now we're going upstream, and I'm flying with my joystick now. Okay, so I'm going to look down again. There's looking down, and there's the river. Okay, let's look back up. I got myself kind of screwed up here, so I'm going to pause it. So all you got to do is, didn't work. I'm going to hit the space key, and it's supposed to pause me. There we go. Woo! Okay, that will always get you out of it just by hitting the space key. For some reason, I got that icon drop down over there. Notice in the upper right-hand side, you can exit Flight Simulator anytime. When I do that, boom, I'm still in the same place I just was, except I'm now in the Google Earth view. Okay, I'm going to have to start the simulator again though and get myself rolled out of this thing pretty quick. Okay, let's go to Tools, Interflight Simulator, SR22, Current View, Start Flight. Boom. We're back flying again. And I'm stalling again. Notice when it came up, I'm going to hit the space bar. When it came up, the flaps were at 20 again. That's the starting place always. So we hit Shift F and we get rid of the flaps. I got my throttle at only half throttle, so I'm going to hit page up to get the throttle up a little bit higher. And we need to get our speed up and climb just a little bit higher. Okay, we're going to go down here and turn up this valley here, okay? Right in the middle, hit the space bar, and we're flying again. So through my screw-ups, you get to see how to correct yours. Somehow, I got turned around and there's Johnson Creek Airport back down there again. And we're heading south. So we need to get turned around. So let's go turn ourselves around. This is about when you wish you were in an F-16, right? You can get places a little bit faster. You can make these turns a little bit quicker. But actually, I want to show you how easy it is to get lost. Everything looks the same up here. Ooh, lots of mountains. You definitely want to have a route typed into a map and be able to navigate and find your way through the mountains. Again, it's very important to know if you're going upstream or downstream. There's no good horizon out here. It'd be very easy to think that you're descending when in fact you're actually climbing slightly, needing to climb because the terrain is rising on you. So don't let that bite you. Okay, I'm back flying again. I've got it up to 130 knots. I'm at 8,300 feet. Life is better than it was a second ago. Okay, so we're going to fly down this canyon, and I've got myself kind of in the middle right now, but it's with the mouse it's a little bit easier to fly it in the middle of the canyon. In real life I would be a little bit more on the right side of the canyon. We're going to follow this creek upstream here a little bit, add some power so we can speed up. And notice there's a road on the ground. That's actually Big Creek Road. It's going up Profile Creek. And we're going to go over Profile Pass, or Profile Gap it's called. And on the other side of that we'll be able to drop down into the Big Creek drainage. A little bit higher than we have to be, but that's not a bad thing when you're going uphill, as we are. I always like to give myself at least 1,000-foot clearance on the terrain when I'm climbing, and give myself lots of options to be able to turn around if I need to. Going downhill, that's a lot easier equation. So coming over the top here, let's review Big Creek real quick. The identifier is Uniform 60. They have runway 19 and runway 01. Very similar to Johnson Creek. We're going to want to land on 19. We're going to want to take off on runway 1. It's at 5,700 feet elevation, 3,500 foot long and 110 foot wide. Very similar to Johnson Creek. And consequently, it's a highly visited location in the Idaho backcountry. So we're speeding up quite a bit now, and just passing Profile Gap. I'm going to turn downstream here now. Profile Creek is in the valley, and we're going to go down this valley going downhill, so I can afford to pull the power back just a little bit. We're going to make a right turn and a left turn, and we'll see Big Creek right in front of us. So actually this is following the Big Creek drainage now, and we're going downstream Big Creek. So I would have made a call at Profile Gap, 8,000 feet, downstream Big Creek, landing Big Creek. Okay, as we come around the corner, I'm going to look to my left. That's still a mountain. Look left again. Still a mountain, but I'm coming around the corner. And let's make the turn here. I bet we're going to be able to see Big Creek down here in the valley, and sure enough, I see the landmark Razorback Mountain that kind of blocks it from view. So I'm going to be descending to traffic pattern altitude, which would be 6,700 feet. And let me pause it just for a second. I want to point out to you, here's the runway over here. Here's a nice ridgeback ridge. We're going to be flying down this ridge here to be able to make a base turn and land on runway 19. While we're down on downwind here, this mountain will be blocking our view. We won't be able to see the runway. So keep that in mind. We're going to go down here, left, left, and try to land this thing. Okay, so speed's pretty good. Like I said, we're going to descend down to 6,500 feet. Makes a nice number for downwind. And remember, we're going to use the F key to extend the flaps. I'll do that after I slow to about 100 knots. And to slow, I'm going to use the page down key to bring the throttle back or on my joystick I actually have a throttle. Let's get over here a little bit closer to the ridge line. I don't want to drag the position light through the trees, but on the other hand I want to give myself plenty of room to slow down. To get turned around. So to get turned around I need to be slowed down. So I've got the throttle all the way back in the case of the simulator, probably not in the airplane. And at 120 knots I'm going to give it flaps 20 to help me slow down. Let's look left. There's that ridgeback. I don't see the runway anymore. I know it's past that ridgeback. I'm kind of flying right at the mountain here, so I got to look straight ahead. Flaps 40, flaps 60, and I'm going to start my turn. And slowing to about 80 knots if I can do it. And I'll get full flaps on final and fly final at 70. Let's keep turning around. There's the road that I know leads to the runway. Whoops, I turned in a little bit too short. Flaps 100. This is a good place to do a go around. Let's do a go around. Full throttle. Flaps up. And we're going to have to try that again. It's a good demonstration of a go around as well. So this is the not the way we would normally be taking off, but for go around we have to do it, and we can come back around and try this thing all over again. One of the limitations of the sim is being able to look out the side and see exactly where you are, which is going to be my excuse today. Wasn't able to look out, and I turned a little bit too early into the runway. I'm still turning down. When I look at my heading up there, I need to be heading 010 to be going downwind. And there we go. Okay, now when I roll out level, I can afford to look left. And there's that ridge line. It's just on the other side. Another trick you can do here at Big Creek, pull the throttle back here, is to go over this little ridge line here. And you can see that other little drainage to the left. We can use that to get ourselves turned around a little bit easier. So let's go over this little hill here. There we go. I'm going to jog right and now come left. I got lots of room to get turned around now that I've got this drainage up here. I'm going to pull the throttle back and start putting down some flaps again. Turning to heading 010, which will be runway heading. There's due west. There's the runway. This looks a whole lot better. There's flaps 100. I've got the throttle all the way back. The only problem is you can't really skid this thing. You can't slip this thing. So we're going to have to accept it being a little bit hot initially. Okay, let's get down here. And as soon as I touch down, I'm ready to start putting on the brakes, the comma and the period. Boom, there's on the runway, pushing the stick forward. It didn't like that. Of course, you got to pull the throttle to idle and step on the brake and let it roll to the end. So here we are in Big Creek, taxi to the end. The lodge is up here. They've got it open now. You can go up there for lunch or for dinner and enjoy yourself. It's been a lot of fun. Have fun flying around in Idaho. Bye-bye now.